And I'm going to start with the talk now. The talk is happiness, serenity, and emancipation. Now, when we talk about happiness, we talk about different levels of happiness, different degree of happiness. Our mind is always stuck on something that is simple. When we talk about happiness, we think happiness is like this. Serenity is like that. Emancipation is like this. It is not. In our world, when we experience things, there are levels of experiences. When you eat something sweet, you get the sweetness of sugar, the sweetness of honey, the sweetness of chocolate. So there are different degrees. So in this same sense, our experience of happiness, serenity, and emancipation has many different levels. Now I'm going to start with the most fundamental level of happiness. That's important because you get the fundamental right. And the most fundamental happiness is not having any guilty feeling. That's the start of our problem. Not having any remorse, right? Most of our time, despair. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. What's going to happen to me, in future, due to what I've done in the past? Okay? So ethical conduct is the most important thing. Ethical conduct is the foundation of the basic happiness. If you tell a lie, then you worry whether you get found out or not. If you steal something, you take something which doesn't belong to you, then you are fearful. And when you are fearful, you may even tell another lie to cover up. So in the very beginning, we have to develop a ethical conduct. Now, this ethical conduct are simple. There are 5 of them. And the first one is, of course, not taking life of any living thing. And as I say again, everything has a level. There's a difference between killing a big animal and a small creature, right? Not to mention a human being. That's disaster, right? We don't reach that level. Our second conduct is not taking what doesn't belong to you. When you see something, it always has an owner. You may not know the owner, but you can guess who it belongs to. And definitely know that it doesn't belong to you. You can ask permission to borrow. You can ask for it, but you don't take it. Now, ethical conduct, again, has many levels. You can practice. And there is also conduct in our action, conduct in methods that relates to sex. Right? In the way we talk to people, in the way we behave with people. And the third is not lying, not telling an untruth. But the fourth is not telling the untruth. Now, all of these have consequences in our mind, right? And the last one, the fifth one, is not taking any intoxicants that will cause us to be careless. Because when we are careless, we make more mistakes. Right? When we are careless, we can break the other four ethical conduct. Right? When we are careless, we become bolder, and then we break even a serious conduct. So, to keep an ethical conduct requires courage. When we tell a lie, we don't tell another lie to cover our lie. All right, we made a mistake. We admit it. It takes courage to admit it. So keeping ethical conduct depends on the courage. And slowly we improve our ethical conduct. The more we improve our ethical conduct, the less remorse we have, the more happy we become. Because our mind doesn't wander into thinking what will happen to us because of what we have done, what we have said. Right? That's very basic, primary. Right? So that's the first level of happiness, ethical conduct. And as I say, we need courage and we need time to improve on it. We got to contemplate what is ethical conduct. All these five, we may be good at one, bad at the other. So we have to look at all these five and then slowly improve on it. Now, when we talk about ethical conduct, right, it is also relative to the society we live in. Right? In the West, having a drink or two, a few pints is okay. It's normal. Right? But in the East, we don't really go to the bar and have a drink. That's not our custom. We may go to a tea house, a coffee house, but we don't really go to a bar. Something that society changes. Right? So in each society, the level of ethical conduct is different. Right? In certain society, there's a level of how much untruth you can say, white lie, or whatever. So you have to accept that. Whichever society you live in. But then you have to come with a standard of ethical conduct for your own happiness. Right? This ethical conduct leads to happiness. The purpose of keeping ethical conduct is not to have remorse and therefore happiness. When you are happy, then only can your mind be useful to do the work that needs to be done. When you're not happy, it's it doesn't have the energy to do it. So that's fundamental happiness. Now, when we are able to attain happiness, the fundamental happiness, then we will start investigating to find out what else causes unhappiness. Right? And usually it is our tendencies that inherent in us that causes this unhappiness. A wandering mind, right? The mind wanders, seeking to think about things. You do not want it. The mind likes to dwell in certain things. That causes unhappiness. We don't want to think about this thing, but the mind wants to do that. We have no control, very little control. The mind that is lethargic, mind that's lazy, we are stuck in that. Right? Now we can say the mind is too excited, mind that's depressed. Mind that has resentment, mind that has hate. We can't keep our mind away from that. This hate that's within us, this resentment that's within us. We have to work it out. And then the mind that doubts whatever it's doing. The mind that doesn't have any confidence in what it is doing. Confidence in themselves. These are all the obstacles that we have. We know about it. We try our best, to overcome it, to find a solution to it, so that we can reach a state of serenity, calmness, a little bit of calmness in the beginning, a small degree of serenity, so we can carry on with doing useful job. We like to do our work, but we cannot because of all these hindrances. They're called hindrances. A sensuous wandering mind, or wanting to think about, fantasize about things, enjoy things in the past, enjoy things in the future. The resentful mind that thinks about the past and revenge in the future. Mind that has no energy. Right? So we have to learn to protect our mind. We have to learn to focus our mind. And that comes through meditation, through working with the mind. Right? There are actually three forms of meditation. There is the sitting meditation, walking meditation, and working meditation. When we are doing work, especially in working meditation, we want to do something simple. Washing up the face. When you're washing up, that is a meditation. Yeah? You want to make it into a meditation. When you're doing the washing, we're only doing the washing. We protect our mind from running away, seeking, thinking about other things, solving problems, or planning. We do not want to do that. We want to learn to focus on the things that we want to do. Most of us do simple things in what you call chores without full focus on it. So you're washing, solving certain things. You can do that. But that's not the point. We want to learn to be able to direct the mind to do things, to do the things we want to do with 100% focus. Now, protecting the mind away from wandering into other things, protecting the mind from getting into resentment, protecting the mind falling into lethargy. And it is the mindfulness that stops it. What mindfulness is watchfulness. We watch that our mind does not wander. So we want to find out where our mind is. What is it doing now? Is it listening, or is it listening and thinking at the same time? Or is it lost in some other? Right? So that's watchfulness, that mindfulness, keeping the mind, right, in a particular direction. Now, we need something for the mind to hang on to, an object of meditation. So when we can focus the mind and let it become concentrated on an object, then there is lots of benefit. Then we can stay in the state of calm. Work meditation is very good because it involves the body, it involves hand, involves the body. Now, when we don't have the things to do, we can do walking meditation. So when you do walking meditation, you keep our mind towards the walking. You do left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. That's all we do. You keep the mind to walking, knowing that the left foot and the right foot. And that's all. Focus on an object. Prevent our mind from running away. It's how we develop a powerful mind. A mind that's focused. A mind that's protected. When we can do that, do the walking meditation, sitting meditation, and work meditation, then we can learn to sit and watch the breath. And the purpose of sitting meditation is to get the mind to calm down even more, to go deeper, to attain the state of calm, to get serenity. Now there are many levels, of calmness. In the beginning, we notice that we cannot calm our mind down. There's nothing to do with you. It's natural. Because that's the way our mind is. So what we are trying to do is now to learn how to have a bit of control over our mind. to calm the mind down, that's all. So calming the mind down means overcoming these 5 hindrances. When we are able to overcome the mind at a particular level, right? It is just like a boiling water, just boiling water. We can notice, yes, things come up, but it's not violent. You don't get caught in it. Right? That's the first level of calmness. We can remain calm, but we're still aware of the underlying tendency of the mind that wants to go out and do something else. That sometimes it just goes out, but we realize it and then we bring it back to focus on what we are doing. That is the way of reaching serenity, of getting deeper and deeper levels of serenity. And it involves working meditation, walking meditation, and sitting meditation. Right? So our purpose is to calm the mind down. That's all we do. We're not trying to get psychic powers. We are not trying to do something extraordinary. We're just trying to do something simple, basic. Have a sense of control of our mind. Now, the state of our mind depends on the previous condition. It is conditioned. Right? If we have an argument with somebody else, for like 30 minutes, half an hour, our mind will be boiling. Right? Or when we are excited about something as well, so our mind will be heated up, continuously thinking about that. It's natural. That's the tendency of the mind. Because we have an aversion to things. That's the thing that's driving the mind. The aversion to something. The energy of aversion or hate, strong hate, has to get work itself out. Or we have an attachment to things, we crave for things, and the energy of craving will have to work itself out. After, when we have become attached or adverse to something. Right, so serenity, attaining serenity is part of the Buddhist path. It is a very important path. Because only when we have serenity, then only when we are able to focus the mind, to watch the mind, then only can we see what has been going on in a few seconds before. What was my mind thinking before? A minute ago? 2 seconds ago? Right? So when we can see that, then we can see, we can find out what's driving the delusion or hate or craving that's driving this one. Whatever that there is, it comes from the heart. Everything that's unsettled remains in the heart. That energy comes out in the mind that you have. And you know, especially with children, if they have an exciting day in the night, they will also have an exciting dream. All this stress emotion, this emotion comes out in the mind. Have to release it. Our resentment, our craving for things, those are the two big ones. Now, when we practice, it takes time to practice to reach the state of serenity. Right? There are some people who are calm by nature. They have been practicing in their either in their previous life or by their nature. They tend to not keep things in their heart. Right. And for them, reaching a state of serenity is much easier. For others, we have to work hard on it. For each person, it is different. Right. So what's the purpose of meditation? The purpose of meditation is to reach calm. The purpose of meditation is to see what's within our heart that's driving us crazily. That makes us lose control, whether in hate, in love, or in delusion. Now, after we maintain a state of serenity, and we can see, roughly attain, with that serenity, we can see what's going on in our mind a few seconds before. Then you begin to see forces that's driving it. Then we can go on to the state of learning to free ourselves, emancipation, freedom. So what is it that we are trying to free ourselves from? Many levels. Free ourselves from hatred. Free ourselves from consumed by attachment, by hatred. Free ourselves from delusion. Right? Free ourselves from being mindless. Free ourselves from doing things that we are not supposed to do. Right? So this serenity with a powerful mind will help us to become more happy because we can be more ethical. And that ethics increase our fundamental happiness. And our fundamental happiness increases our serenity. Now, when we come to emancipation, we have to find out what is it that we are trying to be free from. Ultimately, it is freedom from imprisonment. Imprisonment by our own mind. How is that so? It's very simple. It's because of our misperception, our mistake in perceiving things, our mistake in knowing things that we get into such a big trouble. our mistakes, that we are imprisoned within our own mind. Now, you are a physicist, so you don't, or physicist, or scientist, know a little bit of science. You know that when we see things, we don't actually see things. Things, light from the outside enters the lens of our eyes, creates the images at the back of the retina. And that image is upside down as well as laterally inverted. That is a scientific fact. Nobody can dispute that. That we have these small little tiny images, like at the retina. And then we have this three-dimensional world. Where did that come from? How can we relate? Right? This two-dimensional image with this three-dimensional world. It's obviously created by the mind, isn't it? The mind is such powerful, right? So that even when you don't need any sense, when you go to sleep, you shut down probably, 5 of your senses. And the mind creates a world for you, put you inside that world. And you do not know any difference. Right? You're in a world of dreams and it is real. You are in your mind. Mind puts you in there. You may be sleeping in your bed. Somebody will see you sleeping in your bed. But you see yourself in the dream. You do not know any difference. So that's the reality. What we see is a projection of God. Right? When we see something, in the beginning, when we see something, we do not know what it is. We see its shape, we see its texture. Right? We see its color. Then we start forming what we call a mental identity. Right? And then we build up a history for it. Say, for example, a drone. Most of you know what a drone is. A drone is something, when you first encounter it, you will come to realize that a drone must have certain things, certain parts in it for it to be called a drone. Right? So we have a mental identity of what a drone is. So the next time you see an object, right, then we try to fit it with all the mental identities that we have. Right? And say, oh yes, that's probably a drone or just a toy. Right? So if with each mental identity we have a label, so we can name it, and that's the end of it. So that's how our mind works. Now we don't create this mental identity immediately. We create this mental identity slowly. We add a history to it. We add our emotions to it. When you think about the person you like, the person you hate, how much time you spend building a mental identity of that person, how much energy you do. When you think about yourself, you're also building a mental identity. Who you are, what you are, and all those things are made up. So we create mental identity of people. We create mental identity of things. And then as soon as we see a thing or person, our mind projects that mental identity on the person. And this mental identity is permanent within our mind. Right? So we build a world of mental identity. We live in a world of permanent mental identity. You have this experience, you have a friend you've not seen for say 10 years, 20 years. You remember what they look like. You have a mental identity of them, how they walk, how they talk. And then when you see them 10 years later, then you get shocked, What happened to them? They grow old, but your mental identity of them doesn't grow old at all. You say, yes, I remember he walks this way, he talks this way, but he looks different. He grows old. Your mental identity of him doesn't. And then you start updating your mental identity. There are two mental identities now. One of him in the past, 10 years ago, and one of him now. And there are two for you, there are two separate mental identities. Now for people we know, we live, we see every day, we keep updating our mental identity. But sometimes when we see a friend who has been binging, or somebody who is on a diet, everything, the person is different. They're slimmed down or they're put on weight. Right? Now with all this mental identity, we are interested in it. We have interest in it. We either hate it or we love it. That's why we create it in the first place. When we walk along the street, we see people, we don't immediately create identities of them because we're not interested. But if we see somebody interesting, then we start creating mental identities of the person. And then we can recognize them the next time. Yes, I've seen this person before, where he walks, how he walks. And we also have ideas about him, even though we do not know the person. We say he's properly like that. So that's all mental identity. So what we have now is this world of mental identity in our mind. We react to this mental identity. Nothing else. It is this mental identity that we create, that's giving us problems. We create something we hate. We create something we love, become attached. Right? Each person will create their own world mental identity. Sometimes our mental identity of a person, and sometimes they don't, because they are all our personal creation. Who you are, who you think you are, your parents' idea of who you are, your siblings' idea of who you are, is totally different from who you think you are. They are all personal. Because we create this mental identity. world. We have this love for the world. We have this hate for the world. We do not know that all these things are not real. They are our own delusion. We are trapped in our own delusive thinking. We are similar to somebody who is living in an asylum. The person who lives in an asylum lives within his own mind, his own world. We create our own world and live in our own world. We suffer because of the world we create. We are excessively happy because of the world we create. Everything that's beautiful or ugly is our own creation. Everything that is valuable or invaluable or do not have any value is our own creation. Things like antiques. So somebody is junk, right? So you can call it junk or you call it antique. It depends. But we have to create. To make it antique, we have to create a history for it. To believe in the history, to add the history. Right? We create all that. So in creating this world, we are trapped. We are imprisoned in this world with our hate, right? And the thing that we create, which is causes the most problem, the most harmful, is the creation of who we are, a self, who we are. Because we create who we are, then we are fearful for this self. We do not want to die. We do not want this self to die. We have this craving for existence. So because of our ignorance, not knowing the true nature of things, we have this craving for this existence. Because we have this craving, we have create karma. So this craving and ignorance propel us to be reborn again. We want to be born again. We want a life again. And our future life depends on our karma, what we do. Good thing, bad thing. So that's why we are in this world of samsara, the world of rebirth. Right? And this world of rebirth is about, we are stuck in it because we are stuck in this delusive creation of the three worlds. The world of the gods, human world, the animal world, hellish world, the world of the hungry ghost. So we keep going from one world to another due to our action, our karma. So emancipation is freedom from this world. Freedom from creating a world to trap ourselves. We're not very wise, We create something and then we believe in it. And then we are stuck. We create a self and a world. Right? And we are stuck with that. We believe in that self we create. We are that self. So emancipation comes from letting the heart see things as they really are. So in Buddhism, there's a word called Upanayiko. That means leading inward. Our practice should always lead inward towards seeing the mind. Right? It is through the mind then we can work with the heart. We can see the result of the heart. We cannot work directly with the heart. So when we let the heart keep seeing the things of the world, and what are the things of the world? What's the fault in our knowing of the world? Right. So we know the world is the world of mental identity. That means they're not real. They do not have any essence because they are created by us. Right? Things in the world are impermanent, they change us. Our mental identity do not change. Right? So the reality is that things out in the world do not have any essence at all. Right? A chair is something you create. Right? We apply a name called a chair to it. But a chair doesn't quite exist. Right? It exists in concept. Coffee table, side table. Every label that we give it is a creation. They don't exist. Inside a chair, you don't have an intrinsic chair. Huh? In a vase, you don't have an intrinsic vase. Because of this shape, you call it a vase. Because of the function, you may call it a flower vase. Yeah. So all these things we create, they do not have anything. And that's the idea of anatta, non-self. There's no intrinsic reality in that. And things in the world changes. That's the second thing. And because of these changes, it creates suffering for us. Because we want things to be permanent. We cannot keep with the change. We don't like it to change. Or we want it to change, but it doesn't change. We fall in love with this mental identity. We have an aversion for this identity. And that causes us the problem. So the way the world goes is follows the process, part of dependent origination. Dependent origination. That is due to contact with an object, a sense object. And usually the sense object is our mental identity of that sense object. Due to contact with this mental identity, feeling arises. And that feeling is something we have already created. Depending on feeling, craving arises or aversion arises. Depending on craving, there is clinging onto that object. Depending on clinging, there is becoming. The becoming is a new self comes up. We become angry. We become jealous person. We become envious. We become resentful. So that's a self in itself. When we are resentful, we are a resentful person. That's the person that exists at that particular moment. So there is a self, right? But this self is the becoming. There is a cause. And that cause is due to clinging. Clinging to a hateful object, hateful mental identity, we become a hateful person. Clinging onto a lovely object, we become a person who is attached to that thing. Right? So at each moment we become. We can be a father, we can be a colleague, we can be a manager. So it depends on the situation, the object we have in front of us. If we meet somebody who works for us, then we are his superior, or we are his manager. But when you see your girlfriend or boyfriend, then you are a partner to that person. So when you see your teacher, then you are a student. You behave. So we have all this personality, this self. We have to understand. When we come to know, see directly that the world that we have created do not have any essence, another. When we see that the world in reality changes, when we come to know the world as they are, when we come to know that the world we know is just the world that we created, world of mental identity, right? Then we become disenchanted with the world. We become disenchanted with the things we create. We should be enchanted with the things that we create. We don't fall for the spell of the things we create. We don't fall under the spell of those things. When we don't fall under the spell of those things, then we can be dispassionate with it. We don't have any passion for it. Passion of craving for it or aversion to it. We see it as it is. And when we are dispassionate with it, we can let go of it. So the ultimate point we reach is something that's said by the Buddha in the Bahia Sutta. In the scene, in what we are seeing, there is only the scene. In what we have heard, there is only the heard. In what we have cognized, there is only the cognized. There is no you here or there or in between. So we see things as they are. We don't create a self. When we don't create an object, we don't create a self to enjoy or hate the object. When we don't create a mental identity, we don't create a person or to enjoy or hate the mental identity. When we create a mental identity, even though and we know that it is a mental identity, something that we like, something we don't like, then we don't crave for it because we know they are just mental identity. So we don't create new mental identity. But for the old mental identities that we have created, we know they are mental identities. We don't have to get obsessed with it, rage about it. They are just mental identities, something we have created. We can correct them. We can change that if we want. Right? So in that sense, those things in the world do not have a span of. We are free to decide. We are not conditioned by those. Right? And that's emancipation. That's freedom. Freedom from delusion. So in this practice, we keep looking in until we come to know our consciousness. First, when we come to know our consciousness, then we don't let our consciousness create this delusion system. Then we really rest. We do not create the world anymore. We rest in that amazing peace. And that's all it is. Any questions? I know it's a long,
Thank you very much, Bhante, for the very wise talk, and it gave us a taste of the whole Buddhist path. Please feel free to ask questions. And also, there are a few friends from Malaysia. Please feel free to turn on your video if you would like, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask questions. First, if any of the in-person participants have questions, feel free to speak.
One of the reasons why nobody can set us free is because we create this world within our mind, and it is only us, when we see through it, that we can free ourselves. Nobody else can do it for us because we are trapped in our own creation. Right? Just like we are living in this waking dream until we realize that all that are around us, right, is our own creation. We are in this waking dream. Then we can wake up. Right?
Yes. There's one question from here, Bhante.
Yeah.
In meditation, by the way, thank you for the speech, Bhante. Thank you. It was very insightful. So, in meditation and out of meditation, what is your practice of self-realization of your identity, of your social identity? And do you have any way or technique as in now, I feel very much in a stage of realizing my identity, and by the time I go to sleep, I will not.
The purpose of meditation is to develop our mind to be powerful so that we can work and see what's going on within our mind. The second part of it is contemplation, right? Anupassana, contemplation, contemplating on identity. Right? Then we have to see that this identity follows a path, right? We either create mentally or it comes through dependent origination. That because we cling to a particular object, there is this becoming. It is a process of dependent origination. So to stop that identity from arising, we have to stop it before becoming, stop at clinging. We stop clinging, we have to stop at craving. To stop craving, we have to stop at feeling. When I say stop at feeling, means when feeling arises, withdraw. You don't let it carry on through the process of dependent origination to craving. When craving arises, we let go. We don't let it go further. Now we can only do it with certain things, with certain certain tendencies. But there are certain tendencies of us which is very strong. We go straight from seeing and becoming. There's some people, when they see something, they go into a rage. That's very strong. The tendency is very strong. So they need a powerful mind. Power of mind is through the power of mindfulness that we can stop this path of dependent origination. Okay. So all this is contemplation, the practice of contemplation, to see things as they are. Now, we want to see things that, first of all, they are mental identities. They don't have any value in anything intrinsic, anything real in it. And the second thing is that they are impermanent. Real things in the world are impermanent. They change. Right? Only our concept of mental identity thing doesn't change. Right? And then we must let the heart be able to go and take in this change. So that's these three characteristics. Change. Things do not have an intrinsic. Us, people, don't have an intrinsic self or intrinsic identity. And finally, if we cling on to things, then suffering arises, dissatisfaction arises. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. And also our online participants, you don't have to raise hand, just you can unmute yourself and ask if you have questions, because we only have a few participants.
Could I ask, thank you so much for the talk, Anthony. I wanted to ask for perhaps a comment, maybe not a very direct answer, because I realize there are different Buddhist thoughts on this topic. But I was just curious to have this discussion. So on the one hand, we're trying to draft the mental formations of mental images, but at the same time, to lead ethical conduct, we still need a mental formation of what is wholesome and unwholesome. So how do we find the right balance between the two?
What's the question?
I suppose I just wanted to have to hear your comments on this. What could be the right balance, in your opinion, of thinking about this? Because in order to drop the unwholesome and move towards what is wholesome, you have to have a mental formation of what is kind of good and bad. So how do we balance between dropping the opinions and the views and yet moving towards what is wholesome, which is intrinsically not an absolute truth, because it is based on a view?
Is the audio unclear, Bhante? Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, can you, yes, it's not clear yet.
Okay.
Can you?
The question is, Bhante, she was asking, we also need to find good and bad in the world, and to find what is right and what is wrong. Do we still need mental identikits? Because otherwise we could harm people thinking that these people are not real, something like that, right?
I think you were close. I think I was thinking of mental formations and mental identities of objects, which is the relative view, and obviously on the absolute view there is, no self exists and no phenomena exist, and therefore no karma and no good and bad exist. But for us, obviously karma does exist, and good and bad and harm in people does exist. So how do we find the right balance between keeping the absolute Buddhist view in mind and yet keeping enough of a relative view in order to generate more good karma, which intrinsically depends on having a view?
Right. The thing is that we have to have our mental identity. That's a fact, right? We have to know the identity of the person, our relationship with the person, right? We have to, when you're working, we have to have identity, mental identity of the things that we use and everything. Well, the first thing to know is that the things that we know, they are mental identities, right? So who you think the other person is, you want to know that it is your mental identity, so you don't hold on to it tightly, that this is the truth. This is, you hold on to, this is the way I see it. Right? That's it. So when you don't have an argument with people, when you don't hold on to the view, strong views of anything, you know it is just a view, a mental identity, a way of seeing things. Then you're more amenable to being corrected, or more amenable to change. Right? Mental identity in the world is a natural thing, but attachment to this mental identity, aversion to this mental identity, right, in extreme form that causes suffering, is unnecessary. Freedom comes from choice. It doesn't mean that an unlicensed person doesn't like anything. He can see a beautiful flower, he can like it. He can see a beautiful person, he can like it. He can change a beautiful person into an ugly person because he can change the mental identity. He has a choice. He has a choice of saying good in the bad. He has a choice of saying the beautiful in the ugly. He has a choice of seeing the ugly in the beautiful. He has a choice of seeing the bad in the good. If he wants to, that's what total freedom is. You're not stuck. You're not conditioned by the things in the world. You choose what you want to see. You create your own happiness. You do not need to create suffering for yourself. See, that's the total meaning of freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to enjoy. if you want. But because you the heart truly knows the thing, the heart truly knows the limit of enjoying things in the world. Right? But when they come to that state, they have something which is special. It is called Nibbana. It is far better than anything that created by the enjoyment of this mental identity. Okay. So before we reach that stage, we want to know this mental identity and we do not want to hold on to it. So whatever that mental identity that we have, we say, we're not sure about it. It seems to be like that. So we don't get into a heated argument with something. Okay? So when you do something this way, and somebody says it is wrong, then we have to respect that your view. This is our view. We don't get into a heated argument, which is right or wrong. Now, it all depends when it's something very important, when it's something life-threatening, when it leads to immoral conduct, then we stand up. Other than that, we can give way. Okay? So knowing that all these things are created by ourselves, then we don't have to believe in it. That these things really exist. We still have to function in the world. We still have to relate to people in the world. We have to respect people in the world. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you for providing your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Bhante, for the excellent answers and very nice talk. It gave us a lot of wisdom. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take more questions because we have to hand over the room in around 10 minutes. Thank you so much, Bhante, for everything. It was very great talk. We learned a lot. And thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you for our Malaysian friends as well. And thank you again for taking time in this very early morning to teach us. Thank you. And we hope to see Bhante again in Cambridge sometime.
Okay then, see you all then. Have a good day.